We ran generation 2 of our mieliepap Moonshine, and the question is, what makes a better generational run, Backset versus Boron? Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Beaver, and today we are answering the question that has been bothering me since I did my first sour mash. Now, there is two different schools of thinking when it comes to a sour mash whiskey moonshine kind of deal, and that is whether you use your Backset or your Boron. Now, before we go any further, let me just quickly explain what is the difference between Backset and Boron. First up, Backset. Now, what we have in front of us here is a jar of Backset that I saved. Now, the Backset is once you are finished distilling and you turn off your still. So you've taken the product off that you were looking for, and everything else that is left within the still, that is referred to as Backset. It has a slightly sour, funky smell to it, and you use that to make your next wash. Next up, Boron. Now, what is Boron? Boron is the spent grain left in the bottom of your fermenter. So whether you use a bucket or a conical fermenter, whatever you use, it is the spent grain. This is the stuff that settled out to the bottom of your fermenter once fermentation was finished. So if you're going to rack your whiskey over or your moonshine over, that mixture of yeast and sediment and the grain that was left over that settled out to the bottom of the fermenter, that is referred to as Boron. Now you can refer to it as lees, you can refer to it as sediment or whatever you want to, but it is this jar that we have here. So as you can see with the jar, it is a mixture of the grain as well as some yeast sediment and so on and so forth. With the difference between Boron and Backset generally explained, if you need more information regarding this, please pop it down in the comments and I will gladly answer the questions to give you some more clarity on the difference between Boron and Backset, or Backset and Boron. How we got to this experiment was the moment I uploaded the first video of the second generation of the mieliepap Moonshine. Now, if you want to check out the series on the mieliepap Moonshine, the link will be up here. But the moment I uploaded that video, one question came to the foreground, and it came to the foreground quite quickly, and that is, why did I use Backset and not the Boron like we normally do with a UJSSM? Naturally, I still had the bucket with the Boron left over, and I then proceeded to make a wash exactly the same as I did with the Backset. And we ended up with these two products in front of us. We also ran the still, once it was done fermenting, we also ran the still as close as we could to exactly the same ABVs and cuts and so on and so forth to get to the product that we have here. At the end of the day, we did the run and we ended up with 2.1 liters of the Backset run and 2.2 liters of the Boron run. We proved it down to 55%, and that is what you have in the bottles in front of us. We did 20 triangular tests. Now, if you're not aware what a triangular test is, or a triangle test, it's the test that I'm going to do on camera right now, where you have 3 glasses in front of you, which one of them is different to the other 2. So it might be that 2 of these are Backset and 1 is Boron, or 2 is Boron and 1 is Backset. Then you do a taste side-by-side comparison and identify which one is different, if you can identify which one's different. If you then identify one as different, what we do then is ask you one simple question: what is different? And then we recorded that. Now, I did not tally the results, I did not check the results. That was kindly done by my wife. So at this point, before I do my triangle test, I am not aware whether other people able to taste the difference or not. So I'm going to do the triangle test and then reveal the results. When distilling it, yes, I did pick up some differences, but that's way too long ago and it might maybe all be in my mind. So yeah, let's get into the actual testing. Brian is definitely from us. With my triangle test done and me guessing that number 3 is different, it's a little bit sweeter. It has less of an alcohol bite that you get from a sugar head. For me, on the nose you can smell the sugar. So when you ever distill like a sugar wash or something, you get that strange, funny, sugary smell. Can't really describe it, but it is there. Now for this one, I did not smell it so much, so I'm assuming it goes under Backset. And for the other one, it has more of that sugar head smell. It's also a little bit more tailsy for me, meaning that there's some funky flavors or smells coming in there, and it smells a bit like a, I don't know how to put it, a bit musty and musky. So I assume that comes from the reuse of the grain on the inside that caused it to go a bit musty. So yeah, that was my prediction, and apparently I got it right. Number 3 is from our Backset batch, and number 1 and 2 is from our Boron batch. Now, I have not looked at the results yet. The results may differ completely from what I just said, and the only reason why I can pick up the difference is because I knew there was a difference. Now it's time for the results, and anything over 50% either way should give us an indication that there is a difference between using Backset or Boron. Now the people we used for this test, and we ran it 20 times, are not alcohol tasters or professional judges or anything like that. It's simply friends and family that we took the 2 bottles to, we ran the test, and my wife recorded the results, so to keep me in the dark. And like we said in the beginning, all we asked them, once they were able to discern a difference, whether they were right or wrong, what is the difference, and a quick 1-word or 3-word descriptor, whatever they wanted to give to describe the difference between the products. Now, for the results, we ran the test 20 times, and we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we had 14 people guessing it correctly out of 20. Adding my test to it, that makes it 21. And 21 tests with 15 correct answers gives us 70 to 75% of the people guessing correctly. Now, what are the descriptors that the guys used to describe the difference in the flavors? One was sweeter, one tasted or smelled more like mampur. Now, if you are new to the hobby and people try your spirit for the first time, one of the descriptors that will come up is it smells like mampur. Now, that gets aged out after a while when you leave your spirit alone. But yeah, it's one of the descriptors. It's the mampur flavor, and I normally attribute that to adding too much tails or something like that to your product. But yeah, moving on. It was too strong, or it was brak. Now brak means off, a slight off flavor. So yeah, 75 or 70 to 75% of the people guessed it correctly. So that means there is a clear discernible difference. Now, according to the test that I ran right here, yes, the one does taste sweeter. The other one has a slightly funky taste to it. Now this is only generation number 2. So I will not be able to extrapolate an answer on this regarding or giving a definitive answer on this. But for generation 2, the difference between Backset and balm is noticeable. Your Backset has a sweeter, more complex flavor when it is compared to your balm. Cool. So yeah, that's me. Now, quick couple of points before we end off this video. First of all, why did I choose to use Backset in my video or in my generational run? Why did I choose to use Backset? The reason for me is Backset is easier to control. When you use balm like in a UJSSM where you use your spent grains, at the end of the fermentation you have to remove some of the grain that has discolored, or the majority of the grain that has discolored, and so on and so forth. So you cannot accurately predict at what stage your fermentation is going to go too sour or bad or completely rank. When you use Backset, you can determine what the next result is going to be to a specific degree. You're not going to do it accurately 100%, but you will have some form of an indication of what the flavors will be. With your balm, there's no way of telling what the next flavor is going to be and if it is even going to make a difference. And that's why I chose Backset. So for all my future runs, what I will be using is Backset. It makes it easier. You can use the hot Backset to melt your next run of sugar, so it makes it quicker to do. And like I said, it is more accurate, or not accurate in the sense of the word, but it is more controlled. To answer the question, which one's better, Backset or balm? I'm going to go with Backset. As always, thank you very much for sticking around this far. If you need any further clarity on this situation or this question, please pop comments down in the description. I know this test was not by any stretch of the imagination a very accurate or a definitive test. It's from my experience and I found the result quite surprising. Is the Backset or the balm product worse than the other one? No, it is not. It's just different. To my taste, I like the Backset. If you stuck around this far, thank you very much and have a lekker day.